You know, last week, that knob you were touching that you thought was yours, and nothing was happening. You were actually touching mine.
3 seconds in.
You're
3 seconds
You're
in.
actually touching mine.
You're fucking Sid James, aren't you?
Do you want to go on the mic anytime
Yes.
today?
Okay.
There you are. Hello? Come in.
So
How long have you been doing this?
We'll do it like we did the last pod,
Why
with the
not?
microphone and
Why
headphones.
not?
Go on then.
Shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Hello and welcome to episode 75 of I'm Fine, a chat between myself, Damo, and someone who's riskier than a chocolate teapot.
Riskier?
Yeah, riskier than a bull in a china shop or a hedgehog in a condom factory. Mark, that's a chat around that. I had good morning written here. Good old Ron Burgundy style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not morning,
No.
is it? It's a chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being, fitness, sport, politics, technology, and much, 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 much more. We're all work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. Ensured it's spoke at our perfectly imperfect lives. And if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done. Make sure you subscribe to us. Go on, do it. Do it now. Do it. In your podcast app of choice, and give us a rating on Apple Podcasts if you'd be so kind. Follow us on the socials, search for I'm Finecast, and get in touch with us via email on imfinecast@gmail.com.
I think that first bit needs a bit of a rejig. I know you like your format. I'm just saying.
What's wrong with it? Come on.
Well, I did a little bit of research.
Did you know?
16%, so 1 in 6 of our listenership are aged 18 to 22. And they've obviously...
Is 16% 1 in 6?
Yes.
Is 18% 1 in 8?
No, but I'll tell you something. Try this. What's 8% of 25? You don't know, do you?
No.
What?
Well, give me a chance.
No, you don't. What's 25% of 8?
I don't know.
Oh, you fucking... What's 25? What's a quarter of 8?
Oh, okay. Yeah, 2.
You do not get taught this at school. 8% of 25, no one knows what it is.
I've literally gone all sweaty because you sound like a maths teacher.
No, but why were we not told this?
Well,
Maths would be easier.
I missed the nugget.
8% of 25, most people are going to go, I don't know. Most people just reversing the numbers, 25% of 8.
Does it always work like that?
Yes, probably. That's the only one That's the only one I've tried. Let's do another.
You literally onto something.
So let's go.
I'm literally sweating because you're talking about numbers. I'm feeling sweaty. I don't like
I'm getting excited. So let's go 40% of...
You're going to pick one that works. Don't pick one that works, Mark. Just pick one.
Oh,
you're working it out.
Do it on your phone.
No, you do it. Come on, you're telling me what to do.
40% of 60 is 24. Yeah.
Okay.
So 60% of 40, 24. Yeah, it does work.
Does it?
Yeah. It's math.
Is this your other... It's just fucking science.
Shout out to the Texan.
Oh, God, yeah. Forgot about
He's
him.
gone quiet, hasn't he? Slash she, they. Let's stick with they.
Coming up in this episode, more of this, I think.
More shouting.
Mark's on one.
I've just literally finished rates this one's 5 minutes ago.
You're pumped.
Yeah.
You're still bulging.
I'm also recovering from the fact that Wayne told me to fuck off yesterday when I tried to spot him, and then proceeded to drop a 30 kg weight within an inch of his nose.
What, you caught it like a fucking legend?
I didn't actually catch it.
Did it land on him?
I deflected it.
And he called you away. He had the audacity.
He hates being spotted.
Yeah,
Don't touch. I got this.
He's funny, isn't he?
Yeah. And then I thought, your wrist is breaking.
I don't get it.
Just take a little, the love.
He's got a lovely face. He wouldn't want to smash that up, would he?
No.
What?
No.
I was being polite because I just said he was funny, so I was just countering that with a compliment.
Yeah.
Coming up in this episode, got warm up and stretch, catch up and bookmarks, work-life ballet. We've got distress tolerance and self-soothing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good. You sound like you're going to expand.
All I was going to expand just on the quick text I sent to you. The self-soothe, really, really up for this and really up for some ideas and some takeaways. However, what I thought was when we've had... To me, it was really interesting looking at the figures, because I'm quite into figures, as you know, looking on the figures to people listening to our BPD episodes. And there's a constant stream. So it's like, I think, about our 4th most listened to episode now, the first one.
Right, yeah.
And that's accelerating almost quicker than 2 and 3. It's almost like we're getting new listeners in at the beginning. They're listening to that first, obviously, because that's the order. But it's I think that was really exciting for me when you sort of go, the numbers have gone up since this morning.
Yeah.
So those aren't regular listeners, because most of our regular listeners sort of listen in the first day, don't they? Because they're so needy and so excitable. But I think that's got to be word of mouth or people coming across it. And I know you forwarded it to one or two Instagram people.
I did, yes.
But I don't think that's where it's coming from. I think it's individuals listening, which was really pleasing.
You want to be careful about checking all the stats in the morning, because you'll have nothing to do in the afternoon. And also in this episode, what
does that mean?
It's that phrase, isn't it? Why don't art students look out the window in the morning? Because they'll have nothing to do in the afternoon.
All right, got you.
Oh, I've got to explain my jokes.
Loose definition.
And in Brain Food, we'll be looking at the Zeigarnik Effect.
Yeah, which I didn't know. I was going to pretend I did.
Have you looked it up?
Yes.
Mark, you are clearly buzzing today.
Mm-hmm.
Brown as well. You're looking a bit brown.
Mm.
Yeah.
Especially the legs.
Oh, didn't see them. You brought them with you, have you, today? All right, just stood on the chair. Did you do that at home? Probably. Putting your headstands on it, all sorts.
Yeah.
You're bouncy.
Yeah, I am bouncy. And I'm bouncy from
because you've just been pumping
weights.
Iron. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a couple of people I follow Instagram and they'll go sun, steak, lifting weights, good coffee, and you sort of think,
yeah, it's not bad.
That's most of it, isn't it? That's most of it, really.
Yeah.
So,
all at the same time, or in that order? I mean, is there some health warnings in there?
This is purely for weights.
You wouldn't want to spill any, would you?
No.
Coffee?
No. Well, coffee beforehand for your pre-workout.
Yeah.
Steak afterwards, protein repairing the muscles.
Yeah.
And sunshine.
All the way through if you can.
On a
do it
lonely
outside. So what's new with you? Feels like an age since I've seen you.
Yeah, our communication is less, isn't it, now?
Yeah, it's quite nice. It means we've got something to talk about here.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Although you've just said what's up and I'm going, oh, no.
No, that's it. Yeah. I saw you last Friday. Oh, yeah, because that was the last time I saw you.
Well, you've got some important news, haven't you? You might want to share with the listener.
Yeah.
Or do you not think that's newsworthy?
It's item 3.
It's in there, of course it is, yeah. Come on then.
I rarely talk about myself. I don't do this to talk about myself, Mark. We do it to talk
neither
about
do.
People can see right through it.
Yeah, do you think? I reckon some of them know I got BPD as well. They knew before I said.
I just want to get some public service information out the way. It's hot because I've just watched the one show, having my tea. You should do, like 70 million other people.
You're on
in
the
this
edge,
country.
aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't mind it now because Jermaine Janus is on it and he's all right. I like him. He's a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
You don't like him? That was such a... I can't stand Jermaine Janus at all.
I've just got no feeling. He doesn't evoke any...
No, it's probably good for some people. Well, everybody has to. No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
What do I evoke? Okay, disdain. We know that. What else?
No, carry on. I'll have a think. I'm not...
Bastard.
Nothing jumps to mind instantly.
Right, this is hot on the One Show tonight, talking about the NHS digital opt-out.
Oh!
No, yes, Mark. You don't have to put your hand up. We're way past that. Do you need the toilet?
No.
That was one of the...
No, it was one of the things I haven't spoken to you about. Well, we've spoken a bit about it.
Yeah.
And then I've got an appendix.
Having that out, are you?
That's quite clever. Time to laugh at my own jokes again.
Yeah, you carry on.
I had an add-on to what we discussed earlier, and it might be interesting if you come up with this now. Shoot. What did Alex Jones and Jermaine Janus say?
It wasn't Alex Jones, actually. It was the ginger one. So, remember when I first looked at it, because I heard that it was happening, went on the NHS website, covered this in the last pod, lots of banners going, no, it's all a lie, you can opt out anytime you like, there's no time.
Yeah.
That very quickly, on that Friday, very quickly all disappeared. I put the shout out because people weren't hearing about it.
Yeah.
And it's now suddenly ramping up all over the news again in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And you go back on the site and it says, no, you do have till the 23rd of June to opt out. But also, I'll put the links, I won't go into it in detail, but there's 2 types of opt out. Oh. Is that what you're going to talk about, Mark? And they haven't talked about that today.
No.
They've just talked about...
I found this out
They just talked about the form that you send to your GP. Now, if you fill out the form and give it to your GP or the surgery, they will then stop collecting your data from the 1st of July.
Yes.
Right? If you don't do the NHS digital opt-out, they will use all the data previous to that date. So there's 2 types of opt-out. It's all on the website. I'll put the links up. But they're a canny bunch, aren't they?
But it's even more canny than that. Adam got in touch when I put the stuff on my Insta story about the opt-out and said, if you ring this number, and he said there's a quicker way.
Yeah.
So the quicker way is 30 seconds. I've done that. You opt out, it takes 30 seconds.
I've only done the NHS digital opt-out. I've not done the GP one. So did you do the GP one?
This is the thing.
Or do you now not know which one you've done?
Well, this is the thing. I've got it on my phone. It's page after page. And I think what they're doing is using, is it Newspeak that Orwell said? I think Orwell said.
We need to do a thing on that because you've talked about it a few times. We need to look at it.
So I think what's happened with Newspeak is that you can tell that you can lie whilst you're telling the truth. That's my perception of Newspeak. So in 1984, Orwell used it things like, people were starving and there's yet another record grain harvest, very much sort of like the Soviet idea of everything's brilliant in the garden while people were starving. So I opted out and they then sent me something. And it's really too easy to opt out. You put your postcode in and your date of birth and you opt out.
Yeah, they can
so I can opt out to any of my mates. There's no...
No, you're right.
There's no check.
Talk about personally identifiable information.
Yes.
All you do when you go and check into the GP is your postcode.
So I'm just going in. I'm doing about 80 a day. All my mates, all the pro-vaccine ones, all the ones still wearing masks. The fuckers that believe what they're being told, they're all opting out.
All the ones that have already opted out, you're now opting back in again.
So,
but also, I need to look into this, but I'll say it anyway. From GDPR point of view, and I know we're out of Europe now, but the GDPR ruling should still be in place. That's one of the things they kept. It's my understanding they kept in place.
Yes.
Now with GDPR, you have to opt in to these kind of things. It's an automatic. The whole point of it,
a bit like the organ donation.
Yeah, you automatically opted out until you opt in. This is like mass opt out. It's just literally opposite.
Yeah.
If companies are doing this, they get fined.
But if you read further, when it said to me, "Thank you for doing this form," which you could be absolutely anybody, but we'll pretend it's you because you know your own date of birth.
Congratulations on your 80th opt out.
I could just put random postcodes and dates of birth. It's going to hit somebody, isn't it?
Yeah.
BA3 2HW.
If you're really stuck for work, Mark, I've got plenty to do if you want to come and join the business for a bit.
I offered you a while, and that offer still stands. I'll do anything. Just give me a job.
It's not that kind of arrangement. That's why your
CV's
so long.
You know my strengths. I don't finish jobs.
Yeah,
I'm a bit of a loose cannon. I upset people.
You're really good at starting it.
Yeah, and good at percentages. If you need any percentages done.
Should come and help with my accounts.
Yeah. So it then said to me after I'd opted out, "Well done, you fucker, you've opted out, and your data will not be used for research or planning purposes." Now, what went through my mind was, and I went back into the NHS app and to Digital NHS, was your data can be used for research and planning purposes, and then basically given to pharmaceutical companies for the development of blah, 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 blah. But that wasn't included on the opt-out. It said you'd be opting out of research and planning. So I'm going to go to a Freedom of Information Act because using Newspeak, they have not said categorically that my information can't be sold to a pharmaceutical company.
In the last week and a bit, this whole website has changed, the page I've got up here.
Right.
So...
Sorry, that's my TikTok.
Rumbled.
I'm trying to multitask.
Put your TikTok away. Stop playing with your TikTok.
No, I'm about to read something.
Right.
I'm about to read something. I'll put it away.
You've done it again.
The population of Bolton. Can you remember what it was? This will test you.
139,000.
Yeah, see? It sticks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it still bothers me.
Right, I was going to show you something, but okay, come.
I haven't checked it, but we again, on the last pod, we talked about that they can use it in times of crisis like this. So I think that's still the case, even if you opt out.
That's what I was going to show you for my Insta story.
There's a war on. Let's get everybody's data anyway. Sorry, there's a war on.
Anything where there's a national incident, so anything basically means you're not opting out. They can still use it. However, listen, the second thing is there's two opt-outs, as you said.
Yes.
One of them doesn't list your hospital and clinical treatment, and one is everything else about you.
Yeah.
And the easy one is just your hospital and clinical. The other thing contains a sexual identity, as in terms of forms you filled in, mental health. It also lists the people that have been in contact with you, as well as your whole medical history. So
I imagine all the test and trace stuff, if you're registered on there, will be the NHS app will all be on there as well, pulling on, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So basically, there are two opt-outs. So I'm going to do the other one, and I'm going to ask a categorical Freedom of Information Act. If I opt out, will it not be sold to pharmaceuticals? And why I don't want it sold to pharmaceuticals, and I know there'll be people listening who go, he's a bit of a cynic. He questions everything.
I don't think so.
So all I'm saying is, Johnson, do you know what talcum powder is made of?
Arsenic, that thing you sent me, what was it?
No,
Asbestos.
Asbestos. Well, no. I didn't know talc was like a naturally occurring thing.
Where does it come from? Trees? Spiders? Monkey dandruff? What is it?
Monkey dandruff.
I don't know.
I'll read the official one because I looked this up.
As long as you come back to where you were,
yeah, I will.
We'll go down this little avenue.
Why wouldn't I? Talc is a clay mineral composed of hydrated magnesium silicate with a chemical formula Mg3.
Yeah.
Oh, so Mg3 Si4O10 brackets OH close brackets 2. Talc,
Sorry,
you're a
that
science
wasn't you.
buff.
I've had a long day.
Talc in powdered form, often combined with cornstarch, is used as a baby powder. The interesting thing is Johnson & Johnson were taken to court, and basically a claim for $2.1 billion was lodged against them for the asbestos that was found.
That was in there.
Now, what you've got to understand, because this might be confusing, Johnson & Johnson have done vaccines, and you might go, well, talcum powder is different for vaccines. And the fact that some asbestos got into their talcum powder, it can happen, can't it? You often see on packets, this factory also produces nuts. And cross-contamination can happen. So this has been sold, this has been chucked out by the courts. This has been chucked out by the courts. And basically, this is the bit that's serious. The claims are that it's been cause of ovarian cancer. So this is what the claim's about.
Yes.
Now, two things come into my mind. 2.1 billion is a big old claim.
Yeah.
Asbestos getting into talcum powder, I can't quite get... But it's like you sort of question, well, how?
How? Yeah.
The interesting thing
is it like dodgy drug dealers? You know,
well, if you don't cut it up enough,
If you just put something, just let this go a little bit, make it go a bit further by putting all the other stuff you're trying to get rid of.
In fact, it works the other way. One of the worst things is when drug dealers, especially with heroin, don't cut it enough. You sometimes get drug dealers who don't,
pure.
That it's too pure, and that's where overdoses come from, rather than the rat poison and all the shit that's cut up into it. Anyway, when you look up talcum powder, the third thing on Google is, and I don't know if this is irony, 5 important facts about talc safety, Johnson & Johnson. And it's like, either someone's just taking the piss.
That a paid link, was it?
Yeah. No, it's not even an ad. Right. And they go, so I read the post, and it goes on to say that basically this is so pure, it's almost pharmaceutical level. It's so pure, the talc that they produce. And where does the asbestos come from?
We have put a lot of trust in these people, don't we?
Yeah, but this isn't me going, so the vaccines are dodgy because there's asbestos in talc.
I'm sure we haven't heard the end of this. I think your homework is going to find out where the asbestos came from.
Maybe just a dodgy roof or something.
Yeah, in every factory.
For 10 years.
Anyway, the links are on. Go and look it up for yourself. Make sure you're opting out if you want to opt out.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. I passed my CBT mark. You sent me a really funny GIF of someone on a motorbike with a dodgy. It looked like someone from the Village People on a motorbike. I think I might go for that look, actually.
Yeah.
I can't grow any facial hair, but
got the costumes, haven't you?
Yeah. That was it, really.
Yeah,
boring,
well done.
It?
Good. It's an achievement.
I've got to do my next.
Was it a bit nervous?
No, it's all right.
All right.
It's weird going out on the road for the first time. It's all nice going around a car park, doing all your little maneuvers.
Have you been out on your bike?
Yeah, I've been out on that. Yeah. But then you go, right, we'll just go out on the road now. And you go, okay. Then you get to the gate and the main road's there, and you go, this is really happening. And it's weird, isn't it?
How fast are you gone?
Is it up to 60? That is fast on a motorbike.
Yeah.
40's quick.
It is in the cul-de-sac.
On one back wheel, one wheelie.
Good. Pleased for you.
Talking of which, we referenced this many pods ago, and for some of our new listeners won't have any clue about this, but it used to be a motor spatula.
Motor spatula.
Motor spatula rider.
I could ride a bike and flick pancakes. 40
I bet you've done that job.
Do it with my eyes shut.
You used to be a motorbike dispatch rider.
Correct.
For Pony Express.
Got it.
And we talked, and you said, I've probably still got my leather jacket. And I went, I bet that is mint. I can just picture it. You described it. And you sent me a picture.
Yeah.
We'll put it, if there's like, we'll put it on Instagram if that's all right.
Sure.
You found it.
Yeah.
And I've seen you since, but I thought you'd be wearing it as I turned up or something.
It hasn't stood the test of time.
Did you try it on? Could you fit in it with your arms?
No, I haven't tried it. I'll try it on tomorrow morning at 7, I'll greet you with it.
Oh, it'll be ace. But it looks
how you
proper.
Expected it.
Yeah, well, better than I thought.
It's a very lime green.
But when you watch kind of like Salvage Hunters with Drew, and he's finding all the stuff that's patinaed and worn, and leather jacket, and the American Pickers as well, they kind of like buying old army bomber jackets, and the more worn it is, they're all kind of, oh my god, and it's probably worth a few quid. Not that you should ever get rid of it, but I'll encourage you to get a bike, and we'll go out and you can go in Pony Express. What? I've said this before. You're not keen, are you?
I'm really keen. That's the problem.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you want me to stop encouraging you?
No.
Here's a random one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen you and your films? Film club with Damon and Mark.
Yeah.
Have you seen Jurassic Park?
Seen bits.
Are you familiar with the Velociraptor?
Yeah.
Good. This is on the other day, and I was paying particular attention to the sound effects. I was thinking, I wonder where they got those sound effects from, because I don't know whether you know, but dinosaurs were extinct quite a long time ago, and that isn't a documentary, it's a film. So they haven't, I said, where do they get those sounds from? And it's kind of
also the colours.
Yeah, how do they know what they even look like? Apart, the shape of them, but you're right, how do they know that their eyes were that colour? And I thought that as well.
Yeah.
But how do they have no idea what the Tyrannosaurus Rex sounded like. He probably went, he probably a little tiny squeak, didn't he? The massive
He's
thing.
The John Inman of the dinosaur world. Well, he would be with his little hands.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
No.
But you sort of know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That's a bird, isn't it? The belly, what's it?
The Velociraptor, no.
Yeah,
but interestingly,
right.
But in the film it does talk about the bone structure.
Okay.
Is very similar to that of a bird.
Right.
And I was thinking about the noises they make, particularly the Velociraptor. And should I just remind you of the sound of the Velociraptor from Jurassic Park? Just another option to try and get sued.
Yes.
This is the bit. Have you seen remember the bit in the kit? Have you seen the bit
No,
in the
I can't remember any of it.
Don't be impatient with me, Mark.
In Jaws, they used the mayor was the same in Jaws 2. After that debacle, you would have thought he had been voted out. That's just a thought.
Well,
anyway, carry on.
This day and age, you can do anything and stay in power.
Yeah, that's true.
You? Remember, there's a time when I went, I can't play that clip, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm going to get sued. Don't give a shit anymore. This is the bit.
You're a rebel without a cause now. You've got a bike, can't you?
As I wax my moustache.
Young man. I better not sing that. I get sued.
True. So there's a scene with the kids in the kitchen, and the Velociraptors open the door because they get a bit clever, and they make this noise. Pretty terrifying, right? Mm-hmm. But do you know actually
what that noise was?
What that noise was? The bark, because it's the Velociraptor bark. Have a guess what that was?
Poodle.
No, I'm going to play it now, and you have to guess what it is.
Yeah, I understand the game.
Okay.
Do it again then.
No, I'm going to play with the sound, the original sound that they took and modified to make the Velociraptor bark.
Got you.
So the original things that this came from. You have to try and tell me what you're listening to.
Okay. That's Wayne after 12 Guinness and a kebab.
Would you like to have a little guess of what that is?
No, I can't even go there.
And we've talked about these creatures before on our podcast.
Manatees?
That is 2 giant turtles having
sex. Jiggy with it?
Yeah. That's where they got the Velociraptor bark from.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Do you want to see the picture of them? Shall
No.
Okay. All right, should we carry on? Right, work-life ballet. Do you want to start with... We talked about stress tolerances last week. I don't think we quite got into it, do we? Ways of tolerating stress, really. So I don't know whether you want to do that before self-soothing or...
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Shall I go?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so this is I guess the sciencey bit. So it's actually de-stress tolerance, as in DI, as in not de-stressing, but distress tolerance. So tolerance of
I got
distress.
That wrong. Stress tolerance.
No,
it's but yeah, they're different.
It's sort
things,
of one and the same, but my understanding from the stuff I'm doing on the dialectical behavioural therapy is that distress as a condition can come across. And this was something I was going to I'm not going to be jokey about that. I probably will be, but I don't want to be too jokey. I saw a tweet today from someone who said they showed a short video clip of Piers Morgan storming out of the studio when that guy asked him a question about something.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And they were saying the irony of him launching into a female tennis player who didn't want to answer questions.
Oh, I saw.
And he stormed out. He was asked a question.
Right. I saw a satirical cartoon with him in it. And I hadn't heard what he'd been saying. But as he piled into Osaka, as he...
She basically said because of her mental health, she didn't like answering loads of questions.
Stopping a snowflake or something.
Yeah.
Okay, usual thing.
But ironic that was what he actually did.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Some of this I'm going to read. The reason I said that about Piers Morgan, because I've got a thing here, that is a crisis or distress tolerance or being at the end of your tether or feeling that life's not worth living is always going to be personal and real to the individual. And why I think Piers Morgan and others are, and it works both ways. There's the whole thing of, they're snowflakes because they're getting touchy because they think they've got PTSD, and that isn't real PTSD. That's because they weren't in a war in Afghanistan and they weren't this. So there's this gradation that if you're going to have mental health problems and your suffering comes from a little bit of abuse or, a difficult childhood.
Or from your well-paid job.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there is this gradation of like, well, you haven't really suffered, so it isn't really mental illness. So the thing I wanted to say about distress tolerance is it's personal and it's real to the individual. And it is something I am still coming to terms with because I sometimes fall into the judgment of seeing someone or hearing someone speak and going, you're just trying to get on the bandwagon. And that is such a terrible thing for me to say. And sometimes it may be true, but I'm not in a position to do that. But I think it's almost, there is that judgment that somehow we all become an expert.
Yeah.
If someone's leg has been snapped in two, then we know it's been snapped in two.
Yeah. We've talked about this outside of the pod.
Yep.
And I think we've talked about judgment a lot on here, but we've absolutely said, and I know it's the opposite of what you've just said, and we're not putting ourselves in the same camp as Piers Morgan. But we all do judge. Because when we've got our own problems and we hear of someone who's talking about, say you're depressed, someone's talking about depression, and you've been suffering for over 10 years, and this person's just had an incident, and they get talking about depression. It is natural, I think, for people to compare themselves to others, but I think we're all guilty of that, aren't we? Just to flip it as a bit of a, you're right, everyone's individual there, but I don't think you're human if there isn't a little bit of you goes, I've been suffering a little bit, you know what I mean? Yeah. Some people will vocalise that, some people will internalise it, you know what I mean? But I think we've all got a bit of that in us, haven't we?
And I think
we'll compare our own, what is personal to us.
And that tends to be a response that, I still haven't told very many people. Well, I guess people listening to this, but I still haven't told most of my friends. And I think one of the things that's interesting is that when you do speak to people, I think sometimes people tend to assuage you by doing a comparison. So I'll go, this is something I struggle with. And they'll go, actually, yeah, I do. And I think it has the opposite effect.
Yeah.
And I think it's done with the right intentions. Like, you're not alone. I get you. And that's
but in
what
that moment, you just might want to be the centre of attention for that for that moment, or it just be about you.
And it was a post I put up recently on an Insta story that said, I don't want advice. I want to be listened to. And I think that's really interesting sometimes with mental health. It isn't like, I'm going to tell you my problems, now you tell me what to do. No, I'm going to tell you my problems.
It's not top. It's not top.
There isn't any more. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So crisis that we're going to talk about. So we're going to get onto the self-soothe, but I wanted to put it into the context that if we deep dive straight away into self-soothe, which, if you like, is the more cuddly element of distress tolerance, then in effect, you're missing out on the big things that we've been talking about with BPD. So it's like, it's forgetting all those things and going, if you light a candle, life will be better. But there's steps before that. So I just wanted to outline those very quickly. So I'm saying here, crisis is going to be those moments when we're faced with things like our own mortality from illness, financial disaster, loss of a job, failure to achieve, meet our own or others' expectations, or being a victim of abuse or crime, or right down to moments of embarrassment. This is the bit about the gradations. Whatever form it takes, crisis is generally unexpected and accompanied by overwhelming emotion. And we'll all know, when I was doing this, nearly all of this has come from the States. I've got the links for all of this. Nearly all of this has come from the States. There's hardly anything. There's a bit on Mind. There's some pretty crap stuff on the NHS. And I thought this was an interesting bit. Some people seem to survive a crisis and having survived emerge even stronger. And you get that feeling, this happened to me. There's a guy called Jimmy Ellington who was in a horrific car crash. And he was an international sprinter. And I've been watching his rehab over the last 2, 3, 4 years. He's out in Dubai and he's just had his first run back. He was like pelvis smashed, legs smashed, lungs punctured.
Wow.
And he's just run, I think, 10.4 for 100 meters.
What?
And I've been watching him, and the guy is an absolute machine. And you could say he's had, one of the biggest crises, and he's come back stronger.
Yeah.
But other people can become overpowered by emotion and find themselves escaping into negative and destructive behaviors like addiction or self-harm. Distress tolerance skills in DBT are designed as short-term strategies for surviving the upheaval caused by the crisis. They get us through those moments that we're not sure we'll survive otherwise. And I don't want to go into this into detail, but we've alluded to 2 or 3 weeks ago, I wasn't in a good place. I had a very, very bad day. And we've talked about this scale. I was at 99. If you get to 100, the ramifications are that you've lost any semblance of control over your emotions. So any bit of a logic has left you and you're 100% in emotional mind. And that then becomes scary because your decision isn't tempered even by 1% of logic. It's purely, this is what I want to do. I almost see it like a toddler reaction. I want to play, I want to drink, I want to go to sleep.
You can't even step out. Like I said, that 1% isn't you. 1% of you stop stepping out of yourself and looking back at it, you're just free falling. And
you
might not even be aware, you might not even remember it. I think there's some elements of that day for you, isn't there? Or those few days that you're like, I've no idea.
Yes.
You've sent me stuff similar to, you don't have any idea you sent me. So
yeah, definitely. And I think for me around distress tolerance is that 99 can't become 100.
Yeah.
So the skills, there's 4 main skills. So we're going to go through these very quickly, then we'll get to the self-soothe. The first one is acceptance. This article said it is not true that if we simply refuse to accept and tolerate a situation, it will magically go away or change. We resist accepting a situation because it means accepting that we have not got what we want, that things have not turned out the way we want, and we are faced with a situation that is painful and scary. And very much the stuff around the mindfulness on dialectical behaviour therapy is around recognising the now, recognising that what you see in front of you is what you've got, instead of going, this isn't fair, I don't want this happen to me, this isn't how it's meant to be. It's that acceptance.
Yeah.
And if you don't endure and accept that, the pain just gets more because you're fighting something that is real.
Yeah.
So it is that bit of living in the now. So in terms of acceptance skills, we've talked about some of them. So some of the principles are for understanding, accepting reality. So some are breathing exercises, the half smiling, the awareness. And each of these is intended to help you accept and tolerate yourself, the world and reality. So this takes us to the radical acceptance that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And so by doing this, by calming yourself down and using these different techniques, they let you go of fighting reality and to choose to accept and respond to the situation as it is, not as you want it to be. One of the things I've recognized from therapy, from myself and other people in the group, the mantra of it's not fair. Do you know what I mean? This isn't fair that I'm feeling this, or this has happened to me, or I'm in this situation. And you're continually fighting it rather than going, it doesn't matter a jot whether it's fair or not. It is what it is. To deal with it. The second thing, so that's acceptance of your situation. The second thing is crisis survival skills, and that's how to get through the moment of crisis. And this, for me, is the key element when you're at your 99. These are the strategies that you've got to keep up your sleeve, because the ramifications of not using these are the greatest, which is why I wanted to say them before we came on to self-soothe.
Yeah.
So some of them are things like distracting. Self-soothing can potentially work, but if you're at the 99, it might not be the one that you go for. The skills here that we're talking about on crisis survival are to reduce contact with the things that upset you, to sort of comfort and nurture yourself, but also to look at the crisis and help you to stay motivated to get through that crisis, to keep that element of like not letting the desperation become not the giving up. I guess that's the thing. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to fight this. I might not be happy with where I am. I might be happy with what's happened in the past. But in this moment now, I will survive sort of thing. So one of the things that they've said about PTSD is suppressing and avoiding all contact with and cues of pain ensure that the pain will continue. And I'm guessing that's maybe something, this is a little bit of guesswork, that people have come back from various wars and conflicts constantly want to shut it out by drinking or by drugs or not remembering that. And I think what they're saying with crisis is that you've got to accept that these things happen and face up to them. Because you can't store them in the past forever. And
they'll come back to haunt you.
Yeah. And I don't know if I said this to you, but I saw a sign the other day. Did I mention this about not liking the font? If I did, I won't.
It wouldn't be the first time, but not this particular
It's
thing.
basically, there's a company and their font and their colour scheme has offended me forever.
Right, okay. No going back.
And it was only 3 or 4 weeks ago I recognised the name of the company was connotations of something that had happened in my past.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's taken me 40 years to know that it wasn't the font and the colour. I'd never put it together that it was the name.
Right.
So the connotation had been, don't like that, don't like that.
Okay, interesting.
And you know how I sort of rank things. And so it's quite natural for me to go, I don't like that company. So there's other companies doing the same things and I would rank them in order.
And if there were similar colours or similar fonts, you probably would have associated them.
Yes.
Other companies in with them as well, right?
Yes, yeah. And to the point that I wouldn't buy from this company because of the font and the colour and their marketing. Anyway, this is the key thing for me. Crisis situations and the pain they cause cannot almost be immediately processed. You haven't necessarily got the luxury of time to go, right, I'm going to have a big think about this. I'm going to, look at the pros and cons of
especially in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So the pros and cons for me are the situation you're in now. You've got choices, and it's literally what's the pro of doing this and what's the con of doing this, and that's so hard when you're nearly totally an emotional mind.
But that could just be how do I know what to do to stay in it, but I know what to do to get out of it. Could be walking away. Could be It might not be something that needs a lot of thought or you have time to. Think
it can. It can be
as simple as removing yourself from an environment or a person or something like that.
And one of the things was when I was walking, when I wasn't in this good place, I was walking in a place I haven't walked before, and I was going further and further up the side of this sort of steep valley, and I was thinking in terms of pros and cons, this isn't very stable. It's not a very good idea. I don't know why I'm walking here. So the pro is I might get to the top and there might be a path. The con is that I'm going to fall down and hurt myself. And then I'm going, well, if I've hurt myself here, no one's going to find me because I'm miles from anywhere. So some situations cause for when an emotion becomes so intense that you almost feel, I'm never going to feel better, and you're almost out of control. So 2 of them are, and this is going to be very, very quickly, one is called TIP. And I think we'll probably put something up for people to look at this. The T in TIP is for temperature. We've discussed this before. All mammals possess something called a dive reflex, which is activated when we put cold water on our faces or submerge ourselves in cold water. The reflex tells our body to slow our heart to below its resting heart rate. So this activates our parasympathetic nervous system. So that's an instant thing. And I was saying to you, I'm not going to say about the full details, but in therapy 2 or 3 weeks ago, as you know, one of the people on therapy was in a very, very risky situation physically, and it was interesting to hear the therapist use TIP.
Right.
Leave the video, get some cold water, immerse your face as a real crisis management. And I'm going, you must have something a bit more skilled than this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
putting your bowl in water. But anything that can instantly get the heart rate down is going to take you out of that emotional step. So the other things for TIP, these are skills that when you are so dysregulated that you're going to 100 and they're just going to stop you. So one is that. The other one is intense exercise. And I guess my bubbliness today has sort of has shown that. Yeah. Because after exercise, our parasympathetic nervous system is activated again. So it's two routes to the same outcome.
Yeah.
That brings our heart rate and respiration to a more manageable level. The first P on TIP is paced breathing. And again, we've done this, the 4 seconds in or 5 seconds in, smelling the flower, and then the 7 or 8 seconds out. And it was interesting. I gave this advice to somebody recently who was in a fairly stressful position, and they then listened to the Calm app, and they basically said the same thing. The fourth one I'm not going to talk, it's called progressive muscle relaxation. It's a bit more advanced, so I won't go into it. TIP is something that you can do when you're in that situation. And then the final one is called stop. And for me, stop is the key thing. And again, we'll put all these up. It's when your life is in danger or someone else's life are in danger, or a decision you might make has such negative implications. And it's interesting. The S of stop is for stop. And it says, freeze in your tracks. Do not move. Do not let your emotions dictate your response. Do not act on your impulse. Take a pause from what you're currently doing. And this was your bit about, walking away. But it's literally on the stop is like, just stay where you are. It's the safest thing you can do. And it isn't like the freeze on the sort of cortisol, adrenaline. You're not doing... It's a conscious decision. It's right. I'm going to take control. No matter how much I want to cry or to harm myself or to do whatever, just physically stop. And we'll put the rest of the stop ones on. I'll just tell you very quickly. One is take a step back, physically or in your mind. And as I've said to you, that example of going up the valley, I found myself in a fairly dangerous position. So I actually had to take a physical step back in terms of, just drawing breath. Observe is to notice what's going on internally and around you, to take control of that element. And then P is for proceed mindfully. That's when you then bring in a mindfulness. So why stop is so vital is that first S, do not do anything. Do not make any decisions other than, regroup. And then the other ones just gently bring you down a bit. So self-soothe, for me, self-soothe is a much more proactive and calm and positive way of dealing with crisis. When it's almost that you can take control of the situation by actively going, if I do this action, but I don't see it when you're in a situation when you're 99 and one step could end up in, you losing your life, you're not going to light a candle. You're going to freeze, as they say, figuratively take a step back. I want this to be a really big takeaway for the people listening. I want, I guess, some element of accountability for you and I to come out to people and say, if you're listening to this, please give it a go. Just try some of these. And I know the feedback isn't as great as sometimes we would love, but I do know people are doing some of the things that we say. So self-soothe is very much based, and we said this last time, on the 5 senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch. And I'm just going to give you a very quick story that sometimes things just fall into your feet. Alicia, my middle daughter, is a teacher, and she chose to work at a school that was probably the most challenging she could find in the city she was working. And she chose it, I think, basically going, if I can survive there, I can survive anywhere. And she'll sometimes text or tell us a story where basically 6 and 7-year-olds are throwing things at her, calling her, whatever. I won't say because of your mum. And I think sometimes that would disturb me more than being in a secondary school and having a 14-year-old call at me. It's just like a 6-year-old calls you that and you go, where do I go with that? And she just written a text that had said something like, I've just had a really bad day and I've had stuff thrown at me and whatever. And I know at the moment I'm probably not the most understanding, reflective and kind person. Not consistently. I have flashes, but consistently I'm not. And I just thought, if someone's written that, the pain of writing that has probably been like a highlighter pen, because you've experienced it. You
don't want to relive it necessarily.
You don't want to relive it. And as soon as you've said it, it's like, how I read that was, I don't want advice. I just want you to listen. I've had a shit day. So what I didn't want to say is, one of the things I do,
chuck stuff back.
Or I know I've had stuff chucked at me in prisons. So I went onto Amazon and I found, and it was quite difficult to find what I wanted under self-soothing, but I found a little pack of essential oils that were called Bliss. They were meant to be smells that were relaxing, and they have a little explanation. And so I got that sent to her address, and I didn't say it was for me, and I didn't tell her it was for me, and that wasn't important. I mean, she was going to find out sooner or later, but I saw her a few days later, and she had them in her bag, and she said, do you want to try one of them? And I said, yeah. So she rubbed it on my wrist, and it was a really nice smell. But it stayed. She must have done that like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. The following morning, I woke up and I had my hand, because I sleep, I don't know why, I have my hand, I sleep with my hand over my face, which I think is like a soothing thing actually. And the first thing I sensed as I woke up was the smell on my wrist of these oils. And it was a real pleasurable, and I don't wake up in a good place ever. And I thought, shit, and the point I'm saying this story is that there are so many ticks in that. I got a tick from being altruistic and being kind. She got a tick that I'd listened to her, what she'd been saying going on in the school. So when she received that package, no matter almost what's in a package, it's like, oh, someone's thinking of me. Yeah. Then you actually using the essential oil and going, actually, this isn't too shit. And then sharing it with someone. And then the following day, me being able to say to her, that oil you put on, I woke up. So we've got 5 or 6 ticks from 10 quid's worth of essential oils. So the point I wanted to say with the self-soothe is let's look at sensory things. Let's see how we can do stuff for ourselves that we maybe don't do as often as we could.
Yeah.
And can we look at ways that we can do things for other people around self-soothing, that our self-soothing comes from the altruistic act of making somebody happy, which I think is a self-soothe.
Yeah.
It gave me pleasure that she was happy. And I saw a quote on that from Aesop, and it said, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. And I thought that however small is the thing, it doesn't have to be a massive gesture.
And it's probably why we probably don't do the small things, because we don't feel they're going to make enough of a difference.
Yeah.
So you tend not to.
Yeah. Or it's easy to forget.
Yeah.
We talked about, when we did the pod on effective altruism, I'm not totally sure if this came in, or was kept in, but it was, somebody had said, I think it was Sam Harris actually, like, shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah,
I'm giving 10% of my salary, bloody know it. I'm not going to give anonymously, because the more I tell you, the more you're likely to do it. But there is that sort of immodesty of like, oh, I won't tell everyone. Like for Lewis's funding, I've given a lot of money to that, and I'm still giving money to it.
Anonymously.
No, I'm well.
Or you're not going, do you know there's other ones?
I tell you, this is just sidetracking. So,
or they've gone, Mark, you're so generous. It's like, no, I'm really fucking generous.
Just generous. I told you, didn't I? I gave £68 to round it up to 12,000.
Yeah.
And then I gave £50 the other day. And one of the women who's been really involved with it went, you're so generous. And I went, I just wanted to support your raffle. And, I love the guy. And I just, you're doing so much good work because you got this fantastic raffle, which we talked about. And I said, I just wanted to support the raffle. And she came back and she went, oh, it's lovely that you want to support the raffle as well. Here's my bank details. And I gone,
oh shit!
I've just given you 50 quid for the raffle. I can't
get out of this one. She's got me good.
Yeah. So I went, oh, lovely. That's good. I'll send £50 through. So I'm 100 quid down on the day.
Here's my checkbook.
So of course I'm going to tell everybody about it.
Absolutely.
But you did know we won 4 of the first 6 prizes. Did I tell you this?
No, you
Amelia
didn't.
and I won 4 of the first 6.
You didn't win the prize we were talking about, did you?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't see what the other ones were. We're up there.
I think Amelia being there has probably benefited her more than me in terms of the prizes. She then started putting we won after the first 4. So we ended up putting our raffle tickets back because of embarrassment.
Oh, yeah, that does look a bit of a fix, doesn't it?
Yeah. So of the 4, she's brought me back. So it was a ceramic thing where you put a tea light in and have wax melts. I'm keen on the smell, so that was lovely. So I won that and a vanilla candle. She won a £200 food voucher for her favourite restaurant in Bolton. That was lucky.
Wasn't it?
I think I won another candle.
Everyone's shouting Stuart's inquiry.
Yeah, and she won, I think, a 90 quid makeup session.
Yeah.
So she's 300 quid up on the deal, and I got a couple of candles, but it's cool.
Good.
So yeah, I think altruism, I think you should say, I think if you're giving money to stuff, what's the point of not saying? Not to show off.
Yeah, there's a fine line, isn't there?
But is it though?
Yeah, it is though. Yeah, I think it is.
Do you?
I do struggle with people, people kind of go, oh, I've just done blah, 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 and you're like, I don't know. It's context, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't gone on round and telling anyone. This is the first time I've told anyone, but... So, back to the self-soothe. What I was going to say was, I'm going to give a few examples, and maybe you can sort of join in. So I was just looking at the things that... I got a website, and again, another American website, and I thought, how many of these have we covered in the last 70-odd pods?
Yeah.
So the first one was sense of sight. Go to nature. Look at the beautiful way of the sky, the trees, the grass, the benches, and the people. And in your mind, make a collage of colours and life. And I know this sounds like tree hugging, but we've been talking about last pod, keeping the window open, listening to the birds.
Yeah.
I also told you that mindfulness one of sitting in a park bench and just letting things go in front of you rather than following them with your eyes. This was another one on site. Watch a movie that is famous for its beautiful cinematography. It said like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Does that fit?
You've seen bits of Jurassic Park, but you haven't seen bits of one of the best films ever made.
Is that Stanley Kubrick?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it.
It's a challenging ending to that.
Okay.
But it is beautifully shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the third one was start a collect. Well, there's many more, but I wanted you to join in as well. Start a collection of pictures that you find pleasurable and soothing to look at. And I found a photograph of my dad when he must have been about 22, 23. And he's really peaceful. He's really good looking. He's really athletic. It's a lovely photograph. And I find that soothing because bearing in mind, I've got a pot with his ashes in. And that there's that memory and his illness and the hospital is still I still visualize that time, and to see a photograph it's a lovely balance. I'm now soothed and it changes my memory of him. So when we were talking about the self-soothing box, this is the sort of things that you could have in the box, and every time I pick up that photograph now I just get a little rush of happiness. So the next one is hearing. So it says, talk to a person that you like and whose voice makes you happy or enjoy hearing. And that was like a really basic thing. I think there's a guy on the Calm app, whose name I've forgotten at the moment. And even if I don't particularly want to listen to what he's saying, you know, is it the timbre of his voice? Timbre, I think. It's just, the lilt. It's just so...
It's a soft drink.
It's a soft drink of a voice, yeah.
The pineapple freshness.
Obviously things that we've talked about, favourite music that makes you feel relaxed. And that is the whole thing about dialectic. I have been listening to NF, who's the rap artist that was very close to Lewis and myself, and listening to that. But I haven't allowed that to take me down. I've done that in terms of almost like a memory of a friend rather than wanting to take myself to a bad place. So that's been a very positive thing. A lot of these it's like they're common sense, but do we do it to self-soothe? We might put music on or we might have music on, but what I'm saying is doing consciously, seeking it out.
Is the important.
Doing it for yourself.
Back to this, you're stop and taking a breath thing. It's just taking the effort and time to do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be much, but the rewards are pretty big, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, disproportionately big.
The third one is sense of smell, and this is now almost becoming disproportionate. So we know Wayne is fragrant, we know Dean is fragrant. It's almost become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I put on aftershave before I came here today because you quite often comment and it validates me and it makes me feel good. But sitting here smelling an aftershave...
I think there's a comment about 10 minutes after you left. Oh, is Mark gone? I can still smell him. That was last week.
But I think it's...
Don't bother with candles, just get you around.
Set fire to me. But it's almost... It takes me back to your cutlery saving for best. I use Tom Ford, and it's expensive aftershave.
You've done well for yourself, Mark. I mean, it's nothing to be embarrassed about.
I shoplift most of it. But the point I'm making is it's almost like, well, I'll put aftershave when I'm going out, or I'll wear it on a special occasion. And like, why are we, life's too short to not have something that's going to make you feel good. Yeah. The scented candle in the room, I mean, I've mentioned now of becoming into the stacked habit that when I have therapy, I have this particular candle on. Yeah. And the power of that candle and that particular smell and the sound of the wick is very, very soothing. And I know people do like candles, but I think what I'm trying to say is light a candle for you. Make a conscious effort. Don't just do something that's just, it's there, I'll light it. Yeah. I'm now going to sit down and have this candle. But also get a decent candle. Yeah. That was the thing. It was like you go to Tesco's and you can buy one for $1.99 and it doesn't really smell of anything. No,
it smells of toilet cleaner.
Yeah. But you can buy one for £7 or £8 or £10 and it lasts for 45 hours. So it's like, it's 20p an hour. You can afford it.
To break that down.
One is about buying flowers or indoor plants for yourself or for other people. I think flowers is a great one. Yeah. It does say here, hug a person who you love, whose smell makes you feel calm. But I've got to leave Dean alone, I think.
It's guidelines still, isn't it?
Yeah. So we talked a lot about sense of smell. Sense of taste, I guess that is sort of eating, but it was that bit I said to you at the beginning of of this about, lifting weights, sunshine, steak and coffee.
Yeah.
Having a coffee and like literally savouring it rather than racing it down is a different type of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, tell yourself that you're savouring it. Look at the crema on top if you're having a decent one. Actually taste it properly. And we talked about this mindfulness. We talked about the shampoo, and I've changed my shampoo because I found one with a smell that evokes more emotion. So I still smell the shampoo before I put it on.
My garage now smells of motorbikes.
Yeah.
And there's something really nice about it. Because they're so kind of tactile, you can get to stuff. Unlike cars where everything's sealed and you can't do a shit on a car these days.
No.
And they generally don't smell. They're just all clean and
but
things that kind of, I don't know, I kind of quite like.
The bike is quite raw and industrial.
Yeah, that's kind of just the smell of walking. The garage smells like a garage.
Yeah.
It smells like my dad's garage used to smell. So that's a little thing, but it's actually quite nice going and standing there, and especially in a job which is all computers and it's all very sanitary. It's nice to kind of feel and smell.
And the fact that
it's not your Tom Ford, but
it's more diesel.
Yeah, it's more Henry Ford. But
that's good.
Yeah.
Sense of touch. I've got a small, very, very soft stone that I will touch. Just hold and just rub that stone and feel the texture of that. That's quite a soothing thing. Just have that in my pocket.
Got that with you?
I haven't, but I take it if I'm going to be somewhere stressful. I would take that.
Take a rock.
Yeah. Small paving slab.
It has its uses.
It's been a hard week. And they're all very obvious. And I think...
Well, I'd say yes and no.
Okay.
Like most of these things, they sound obvious when you stop to think and talk about them. I don't think there'll be many people listening go, yep, I do that, yep, and I do that, yeah, and I don't think they do. I don't think we do. We just don't. And I think the conscious unconscious thing is a really interesting thing.
This is the takeaway. I think what I'm going to do is just almost like replicate what I did for my daughter. Not just randomly send all my mates, the candles that I've got loads of now.
Good job, love.
But something fitting
Thank
to
you,
somebody.
but I don't want any.
But something fitting to somebody's situation. I think it's to consider, why wouldn't you? That's the question I'm going to put out there.
Nice. I came across the Zeigarnik Effect. I'll just get straight into this. So the Zeigarnik Effect is named after its founder, Russian psychiatrist and psychologist Bluma Wolf. I always get the hard names, don't I? Bluma Wolfovna Zeigarnik. While dining at a restaurant in the 1920s, Zeigarnik noticed waiters were able to keep track of complex orders and unpaid meals, but once the orders were filled and paid for, the waiters were unable to recall detailed information about the orders. Intrigued, she decided to study the phenomenon via a series of experiments in her lab. And I think it cropped up because we didn't quite get into that, but you were talking about last pod about building the self-soothe into your diary, and we've talked about productivity before and actually getting stuff done. Anyway, in one of her experiments, Zeigarnik asked a group of 138 children to complete a series of simple tasks, puzzles and arithmetic problems. She allowed the children to complete half the tasks and interrupted them during the remaining tasks. Zeigarnik investigated their recall after an hour's delay and discovered that 110 out of 138 children had better recall for the interrupted tasks than the completed tasks. In a related experiment involving adults, the participants were able to recall unfinished tasks 90% better than completed ones.
Yeah.
We talked about plate spinning, hairs running, didn't we? I've always felt that I can get more done when that is happening, rather than just concentrating on one particular thing. Just to kind of give you a bit of context, applications of the Zeigarnik Effect. So generating effective headlines or teasers in the news industry, creating attention-grabbing trailers in the movie industry, using cliffhangers in the production of serialized books and television shows. I mean, talk about box set, Netflix. It is literally that, isn't it?
Yes.
Unfinished business, line of duty, that kind of thing. Designing multiple and interrelated quests in the gaming industry. We've talked about compulsion loop.
Yes.
And this is social, isn't it? In a nutshell. And creating click-inducing ads to promote online sales. Guilty as charged. Many people experience the intrusive thoughts that come with an unfinished or interrupted task, but there are many personal benefits to be gained if individuals learn to effectively channel these thoughts and the internal desire to get the job done. People who are prone to procrastination may learn the importance of starting tasks early or of simply starting anywhere they can. The cognitive tension associated with the Zeigarnik Effect will help to pull these individuals back to work until the job is completed on time. So actually saying, if you don't complete it, that isn't a bad thing. You've started the thing, and if you've started it, you're more likely to finish it.
Yeah.
we have that tendency to want to complete stuff, otherwise it drives us
That's what I took
fucking
out of this, that
crackers.
you have to make the start. That's the important element. The first step has to be made
Yeah.
for it to then be current in your mind.
Talked about small steps and maybe just concentrate on one thing.
Yeah.
Actually, having a handful of things isn't always a bad thing. One might not be enough. 2-3 tasks on the go that are unfinished might be enough to then get you into that kind of habit of being productive and efficient and getting stuff done.
Yeah.
There's a tiny little bit of mailbag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find it on our Instagram. On our last pod on Instagram, we got a comment from Birnbeck Design.
Mm-hmm.
But as I thought, a perfect mix of puerile schoolboy banter and serious shit. Possibly my favourite episode so far. Well done, boys. With a black heart. That's cold, isn't it? Black heart? Why is it black? Ooh.
What heart do you use hearts?
Red ones, because heart's a red mark. Who uses a black one?
I think my
goth.
I think
that's dark. Perfect mix of puerile schoolboy banter and serious shit.
That could be a new intro.
Yes. Oh God, yeah, you want me to rewrite it?
Yeah. I thought we got back to where we were.
Yeah, it was good.
I was close to jacking it in a couple of weeks ago.
Legit?
Legit. Really close.
Which particular?
I thought we'd lost. I thought we'd lost what we had.
Yeah.
And
we talked about it, and we were all over the fucking shop, weren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. And it made me sad, and I didn't want to be sad, and we both have enough going on. And I've always thought, like, even with things like
that thought you had. I have it most weeks.
Why do I do
fucking
this?
Nuke the diary. Just nuke it all.
Oh, he's come back. No, I just seriously thought almost that sometimes the bit about quitting when you're ahead. Do you know what I mean? We've had some really good weeks and we've had some good listens and,
Yeah.
And I just sort of thought...
Well, I think because we'd had the good response off the back of the trilogy, the BPD trilogy.
Yeah.
And then we got we got ourselves in a tangle.
Yeah.
We went from a real high to, oh, Jesus, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was the time, but we got through it.
Yeah. Stronger for it.
Yeah.
And in a way...
Stress tolerance.
Just, exactly. We did stop, didn't we?
Yeah.
Hammer time. But... or not. Oh, you missed the hidden joke.
There's loads of them these days.
Yeah.
Which one was it particularly?
With the Love Honey reference, when I said you'll have to tell us next week if it added 3 inches.
Oh, I heard a double it one.
Oh, double it, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Very good.
Puerile, did you say?
That's it for this episode. That's all, Mark. Have you got any other business?
No. This bit next week, I'm going to come up with something humorous. We used to do it a bit more when I didn't ramble on so much in the middle bit. We used to have a bit of spare time at the end, didn't we?
Yeah, that's it for this episode. Well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening to us. Give us a follow on Instagram at I'mFinecast and send your feedback and ideas to imfinecast@gmail.com. Do you want me to change the end as well as the beginning? Any other comments about the structure of this program?
I like the structure.
Apart from the beginning. Please give us a review on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends and family what a marvellous time you've had here. In the next episode, what are we doing, Mark? Shit. Well, we'll definitely be reporting back on our self-soothing. That is for sure. We need some meat in the sandwich.
Well, half the meat of the sandwich could be the discussion we've had on 68, which we haven't actually mentioned on here.
Oh, you've mentioned the name.
Because that is a follow-on from the self-soothing.
It is.
The way it links with
I didn't know
events.
where you were ready to discuss 68.
Well, I'll make myself ready for next week.
Just keep saying it and everyone's going, what the hell's 68?
I want to buy in.
We've just been talking about...
This is where we monetize it.
Yes, the Zeigarnik
Clickbait.
Effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are creating that.
Okay, so 68.
So in episode 76, we're going to talk about 68. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right, we'll do that then. And until then...
Adieu.
Bye-bye.